What up, everyone? It's the Saber4. Gonna be talking about a sad subject today, and that is the passing of Akira Toriyama at age 68 years old. I learned about this in the morning. I felt that as an old school fan, the least I can do as a token of my appreciation is to make a little tribute video, at least talk about, as best as I can remember, all of my memories and how I got involved with the Dragon Ball franchise. We're going back many years ago here. So as far as I can remember, I was so young, maybe 5, 6 years old, and at that point, your brain is barely developed yet, and your memories, a lot of the memories from that time, I think for everyone, at least for me, can be sort of blurred. But I think that was around when I first got exposed to Dragon Ball Z episodes on Greek TV. I'm from Cyprus. And at that age, not even following through with all of the dialogues, and maybe I don't even remember, but just looking at the action on the screen and looking at the characters fighting, that was so exhilarating and refreshing back then. Like, I don't think I had ever seen anything like that. And back in those days, there was no internet. It's just if your favorite thing popped up on TV, it was a treat. You were lucky. And everything else had to be aligned too, like my dad not wanting to watch TV, or not having to go to school or stuff like that. And keep in mind, at least for my time, early 2000s, by then, Dragon Ball Z, I'm pretty sure it was already finished in Japan and maybe in the USA too. This was reruns and reruns, that's how popular this show was. So even someone as old as me was exposed to the reruns basically. Then around maybe 1 or 2 years later, I don't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure I was like 8 or 9 years old, or yeah, possibly 8 years old. My dad got a device called Sky Satellite, or whatever sort of device it was. I can't really put it into words, but it was something that he could use to watch like all of the channels and all the stuff he wanted to that would air in the UK, maybe the USA. Because we were living at this point in Cyprus. I'm from Cyprus basically, despite my accent. But my dad was born and raised in the UK. So being here, he wanted to watch his crap from there, and he got that device so he could do that. It was a lot harder to do stuff like that back in the day. You couldn't watch anything from anywhere. Now, the cool part for someone like me though, was all the cartoons and anime that that device gave us access to. It was like crack back when I was a kid. And during that time, Dragon Ball Z was the #1 thing, that and Dragon Ball. We had access to the Toonami channel, and I remember they had reruns of Dragon Ball Z at 4 o'clock my time, I think almost every day. And what's even cooler was they would air 4 episodes, like you get 4 episodes in a row every day, starting at 4 o'clock. And that was just amazing. Once again, by then Dragon Ball Z had already finished, it was just reruns. But the show was so popular and so huge that it was still going on. I just remember just making sure 4 o'clock, is it 4 o'clock yet? Gotta be on the TV ready to go to catch Dragon Ball Z. During that period, I remember the Cell Saga was going on. That was really exciting. And I remember how annoyed and pissed off I would be because even at that young age, you know, we'd go to school in the morning, come at lunch, but then we still had to do like extra lessons. I had to go for English as a second language private lessons and at piano too. And in those days that I had to go to those lessons, whether it was piano or whether it was going to English class, I remember being so pissed off because I would lose out at least 2 episodes from Dragon Ball Z during that time. And I would just come back rushing to just watch the rest. I'd be in the car and my mom or my dad would be driving me and I'd be like, hurry up, I'm missing the episodes. That was crazy. And ironically, I don't want to digress, but it's through watching those cartoons and anime, and I guess playing video games too, that I got really good at writing and speaking in English. Regardless, after that, I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I think, I'm pretty sure we got Game Boy Advance SP. We got that for my brother at Christmas. And my dad got a PlayStation 2. It was from everybody, but you could say he really wanted to get that for himself too. And one of the, not first games, but eventually I did get on the Game Boy Advance SP a Dragon Ball Z game, Supersonic Warriors. And that was really hot shit back then. But what really blew my mind was when I got Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 on the PlayStation 2, a Dragon Ball Z game on the console. That was crazy. The important part was that during that time, we stopped having access to that device. My dad had like the satellite sky thing, so all of those anime and cartoons I loved to watch basically went away. They stopped airing Dragon Ball Z on Greek TV too, like that was long gone by the time we even got the Sky. And when I got that PlayStation 2 game, it was almost like I was back into Dragon Ball. I had access to Dragon Ball. All of the action in that game, and when you go into the Dragon Rush where they just fight automatically and you gotta press the right buttons, that shit was so sick back in the day. Like it would drive me mad, like I would get so exhilarated. We would wanna play and fight Dragon Ball Z outside when we weren't watching TV. I remember being so obsessed with the characters, the action, and the voice acting in Dragon Ball. Eventually I got Tekkaichi and then Budokai Tekkaichi 3. I missed out on the 2, but I did play it. Got it lended from a friend of mine back then. But I remember when I got my first phone that could record audio, I would just record myself yelling, mimicking Vegeta, trying to transform into a Super Saiyan, mimicking lines from like the PlayStation 2 games the characters would say, like Frieza and all the villains. That's how mad I was with Dragon Ball. I remember like my parents would be away and it'd just be me and my brother. I would record myself yelling like a crazy person, trying to mimic Goku and Vegeta transforming into a Super Saiyan sort of thing. And then my brother would be downstairs thinking, did this fucker lose his mind or something? Pretty funny shit. And in terms of home media, like all of the DVDs and stuff you see on the screen, I decided to show this stuff as opposed to, Pokemon TCG footage or just using anime footage and getting copyright strikes by Bandai. This is all stuff that I bought, something that I really remember. When it comes to home media, back in the day, we had a store called Brent Cross. It was like a sub-store in a grocery store called Chris Cash and Carry in Cyprus that's long gone by now. But that place used to sell, DVDs and music CDs and PlayStation games, just video games in general. And I remember when I went one day and saw all of the Dragon Ball shit that was available, and I'm thinking, God, this is my chance to own this and watch these episodes anytime I want. I can finally get back into watching Dragon Ball. Because like I've said, by then, we didn't really have any way to just watch it on TV. And at that point, I had never fully properly watched Dragon Ball from beginning to end. I think around then, YouTube was around too, and you could see some stuff like back when YouTube, you could do anything you wanted. People would upload Dragon Ball episodes and crap, but still couldn't find everything. So finding these DVDs, like these box sets, was important. And by then, I was still around maybe like 14 years old. I'm pretty sure 14, not even 15 at that time. I didn't have any job, but we would just have a little bit of money saved up from birthdays and Christmas and stuff, getting by, my uncles and my dad, godparents, whatever, saved up. And then when I was there with my mom, I'm pretty sure, and I saw all those DVDs and I just went ahead and was getting a bunch of them to buy, and she was there and she was freaking out. No, you can't buy all of these things. Look at all of the money it's gonna cost. And the female clerk over there was sort of smiling, but I was just ignoring my mom. Now I'm just gonna buy this shit. Tons and tons of Dragon Ball Z box sets and Dragon Ball GT. Ironically, my first one was just a Dragon Ball GT box set that didn't even have all of the episodes. But then it was at a future time when I went back that I got like all of the complete season DVDs, like season 1 for GT and the full season 2 of GT, and then the Z ones. I never managed to get everything, but I got almost all of them. I'm only missing like 2, 3, and 9. But yeah, tons and tons of money spent on Dragon Ball DVDs, the movies too. Like out of all of my anime DVD collection and Blu-rays and stuff, like most of the stuff I got that I paid money for was the Dragon Ball stuff, surprisingly. It was through these box sets too that they had like the guide things from Funimation, a little guide inside with other anime they licensed and stuff that I could just watch. Eventually you could find anime websites online and you could stream stuff. Technically illegally, yeah, but I did eventually buy a lot of DVDs anyway for things like Full Metal Panic and Love Hina and many other shows from that time. History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi, I got exposed to that from those DVDs. But I digress. I mean, even when I was buying all of those DVDs, I was thinking to myself, damn, maybe is my mom right? I'm spending too much money on these. But after just getting them and just all the times I rewatched them, enjoying them on my computer, privately in my room, nobody to mess with me, nobody to just kick me out of the TV. All of those Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT episodes, man. Hours of amazing entertainment. Now after that, and going into like the PlayStation 3 era, you could say, I never actually got any Dragon Ball game on PlayStation 3. Just nothing really ever clicked with me after Budokai Tenkaichi 3. That was the perfect Dragon Ball Z game in my eyes, the way it played and all the stages and stuff. I've actually looked into a lot of times over the years if there was like another Dragon Ball game like that I could really enjoy. But just watching the reviews, nothing ever really clicked with me. But yeah, eventually Dragon Ball Z Kai came out and I really enjoyed that. When I just go back on a whim, every year there's just always going to be a period where I just randomly really just want to watch Dragon Ball Z again on a whim. I always go back to Dragon Ball Z Kai now. And it just goes to show you, after all these years, no matter what happens, I always still find myself wanting to enjoy some Dragon Ball. And I definitely, and everyone definitely owes this to Akira Toriyama. This is to say nothing of all the other manga artists and writers he has influenced basically in the shounen genre. I mean, Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, was basically a kid that grew up watching Dragon Ball and was inspired by that. You could see it in the world building, you could see it in a lot of the character designs. Like, for God's sake, just watching the anime, the sound effects they use, like the super speed teleport thing, the during the Enies Lobby arc where, you know, the CP9 guys just move super quickly. You know, those are sound effects from Dragon Ball Z basically. And pretty much direct inspirations, almost completely stealing some mechanics, like the Sulong mechanics, the Minx transforming. That's pretty much straight up the Great Ape mechanic. The Saiyans looking at the moon and then transforming into a Great Ape. That's pretty much the same thing with the Minx from One Piece. So the influence and inspiration is 100% there. I don't think anybody can deny that. The word legend gets thrown around all the time, but this guy was definitely a legendary, incredible creator. Think about this. Even just now, even just before he died, I'm pretty sure he was still working on writing Dragon Ball stories and stuff like Dragon Ball Super and the current Dragon Ball mangas. Like, I'll admit, I haven't kept up with the new stuff. Dragon Ball Z Kai is the last thing I watched. I sort of evolved beyond Dragon Ball, you could say. I still enjoy it and I still rewatch it. Same with GT too. But even if I didn't watch the new stuff, a lot of other people did. Like, especially with the video games, Dragon Ball just getting video game after video game every year, and a lot of people still buying them. Undeniable legacy, no doubt. So that's all I got. I'm pretty sure there's many other memories I have for the Dragon Ball franchise that I can't really think of right now. But it was just something so huge, something me and school friends bonded over with too. The video game, the anime. My God, Dragon Ball Z Abridged, how can I forget about that? So funny, so revolutionary, those guys. Once again, you know, Team 4-Star, what did they abridge? Dragon Ball Z. So, absolutely huge legacy. It can't be understated. Okay, this is gonna do it for my tribute for Akira Toriyama. I can only hope he rests in peace. I thank him for all his work and everything he's done basically to the industry. All of the other manga artists, storytellers, just any sort of writer he has inspired. It really is incredible. So R.I.P to the legend, and I hope the Dragon Ball franchise, you know, its legacy keeps going on and on. This is SaberWolf94 guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, leave a like, share the video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time. What up?